Welcome to the new edition of the Talks with the Leaders of ICANN in the Community. Today we have Eduardo Diaz. He is very active and he has been working in the ICANN community. And welcome, Eduardo.
Thank you.
And the question that I have for you is, the ICANN model of multi-stakeholder is evolving. So how do you see it, and what are the challenges that you believe is hindering this process?
Thank you for inviting me first to talk about this. One of the challenges that I see with the multi-stakeholder, to start with, I believe in the multi-stakeholder and I believe in the way of using the multi-stakeholder for anything that has to do with the internet. This organization or any other organization out there. The thing in ICANN, within this context, is the multi-stakeholder because it's open and you're supposed to work on consensus, right? It's evolving into something that a process like, and here I'm talking about developing a policy that used to take probably 6 months a year,
right?
Now it's taking 6, 7, 8 years to have some policy. And you cannot develop policy that way. For two reasons. First, because maybe you're developing a policy of something that you think you need to have now, and then when you end at 3, 6, 7 years from now, that policy doesn't have a reason for being at that time because things evolve dynamically. That's one thing. The other thing is, at least in the ICANN environment, since we are multi-stakeholders here, many of us are not. This is not our main work. We come here as a volunteer, most of us, and we have this amount of time to give to whatever we do here, and taking again, in the policy development process. I don't think I'm going to be working here in one thing for 7 years. I might work 2 or 3 years and I will go away, and then somebody will come and replace me, and guess what? That's 3 years that person did not have the knowledge of what's happening. So it gets convoluted, and I see this happening over and over and over again. And another thing that I have seen with the multi-stakeholder here, which is something that we are aware of, is that there are elements of, I would say, within this environment, I'm pretty sure it happens everywhere else, since this is open and it requires people to try to reach consensus, and you have to, in the consensus process, you have to take every opinion and evaluate it to see if it makes sense to incorporate it in the discussion, or it has to make sense of the discussion, or just something that doesn't have anything to do with what's being discussed. So that can take a long time, that process. And there are individuals here that will come into a policy development process sometimes, and they can take over just by continuing in asking questions and providing opinions and this and that. And unfortunately, that's part of the process. And you have to assume that they're doing this on a faith of that I just want to help. But then it extends this sometimes the time to do work. How is that going to be fixed? I don't know. Maybe policy development process, we have a charter that says you have to do this in X number of months, otherwise you cannot do it, or you have to do something else. Something like that. I don't have a solution to that, but that's part of the things that are affecting the multi-stakeholder. And maybe now that there will be eventually a holistic review, and we expect as a holistic review that things are going to be looked from a bigger umbrella, because now we have organizational reviews, but those are silos, as to how effective these organizations are. But the holistic review will look into how these organizations talk to each other, and will look into processes that are not being effective. Even though we have a continuous improvement process in place that people are trying to, again, looking within the organization to see how they can improve whatever needs to improve. In this case, the example I took for policy development process, how you take something that will take 7 years and take it in 1 or 2 years, something that makes sense. I don't know. But this holistic review will help within that effect. Maybe the policy that you want to develop is too wide, and maybe you need to narrow it so you can focus on something specific and not on 10 items that will take forever to do. So that's the answer for that.
Okay.
But still, multi-stakeholder, it is the model that needs to be used for things like this.
Right. So my next question to you is, we have been observing that in the ICANN community, a lot of the younger voices are not getting involved, or there are the fellowship programs, there are a lot of things. So how do you think we could get more engagement as well as more younger leadership coming in to create a better policy or better process?
Well, the challenge there is that even though the mission of ICANN is very simple, maintaining the security, stability, and so forth of the domain name system, it's just very specific, simple mission. ICANN is very complex.
Right.
And as any other organization, we use a language and abbreviations for things, and so many things happening at the same time that when somebody new comes in and says, I don't understand anything of what you're saying, because they don't have a context as to what it is. Even if you know what the abbreviation means, you don't know, the name, but you don't know what they do exactly. So I think the fellowship program is a good program to get people acquainted with that type of thing, because they get exposed to all the organizations. I mean, they're here, and for a week they're getting exposed to all this information. But again, there's a point that you get so much information that it gets confusing. So that's a challenge. And especially for young people, that not only that they need to. There are people here that are interested more on the technical side of things than in the policy side of things, but then they have to figure it out. How do I get there? How do I get here? Balance here. There is an organization here in ICANN, which is the large organization, that is very wide. Meaning it's the far-reaching organization out there, because there are other organizations that just work with registries, which are the ones that owns the top-level domains. The large is really the end-user one, and many of these young people can try going through the large as to start understanding ICANN. Then they will go into probably other organizations that they like I know there's a new member of ALAC that she's in ALAC, and she wants to understand more about policy and the work that we do. But her really interest is with this, technical. So there are organizations here that work just with the technical things. So, it's just a matter of coming in and understanding the complex. In my case, for example, it took me about 5 years to get comfortable coming into ICANN and knowing how things interact, because it's not only just how your organization works, but what are these other organizations doing, how they interact with each other. So it's a challenge. At large is tasked to outreach to those young people and even other people that are knowledgeable. We do a lot of events in our regions, and one way of outreaching to some of these people on these events, but outreaching to them is not the same as engagement.
Right.
Maybe you outreach to 50 people, or maybe 2 are interested in becoming
probably one
or one. And what we always say, look, go to the fellowship program, and we tell them more about ICANN and this thing, but you go to it fellowship program. The thing with this program is that they pay you to come to these meetings, get the whole thing in live, and you will get, you will see how this complex organization works up to a point. And you get, in fact, the fellowship, they give you 3 chances to go through different meetings. So, because it's not only one, only 3, so you can, like I said, to me, 5 years to feel comfortable. I didn't come through the fellowship, but if I would have come through the fellowship prior, that will have reduced it too, because I will have been informed on how this complex thing works. You know, coming here, it requires dedication, and coming to these live meetings, you need to find out within the organization that you are which parts of that organization are funded by ICANN, so you can try to slot yourself in one of them and be able to come and continue participating here, because I mean, it costs money and time to be here. So I guess that's I most probably answered the question. Yes. The way we do it in our ALS in Puerto Rico, we engage people by the events that we do remotely. We do seminars every month, and I just ask one question, because we use Zoom. Do you want to become a member of the, in this case, I'm in the North American region, are you interested in the DNS system and you live here? Do you want to become an ICANN individual member? And in 4 months only, I have 195 people interested. Now, the next step is trying to engage from those 195 into getting engaged in programs like the fellowship or the NextGen, or even participating in the elections of the region, what have you. So let's say
very well strategic.
Right. So 195 people, maybe 5 get interested.
Right.
You know, that's what we're doing, and it doesn't cost us any money, because it's just asking a question. The effort comes after that, just to get to them and try to motivate them to engage.
So thank you, Eduardo.
Okay, sure.